Hi, everyone. Welcome to the XDC podcast today. Let me start with my introduction. My name is Sonny Mohanty. I'm the ecosystem lead at XDC Network. So today's session, we are going to focus on XDC Masternode Staking and Governance, an institutional and technical deep dive. Welcome, everyone. So little bit context about what we are going to discuss today. So this discussion is designed specifically for financial institutions, infrastructure providers, and obviously serious investors and ecosystem participants who want to go beyond just blockchain, who just go beyond using blockchain and start owning and shaping it, right? What we are going to explore is how XTC masternodes combine yield, governance, and enterprise-grade deployment, turning passive XTC holdings into active infrastructure ownership. Okay, so right. So joining me today are three speakers, three people from XTC itself, who are deeply involved in building and shaping the XTC ecosystem. In no order, I like to do the introductions. Omkar, Mestry, blockchain engineer at XDC Network, who is working on protocol development and validator operations. Then we have with him, sitting right next to him, Anil, a core member of the protocol team, leading network upgrades and technical innovation. And last but not least, André Casterman, a globally recognized advisor in trade finance and digital assets, who brings decades of experience advising banks and institutions on digital infrastructure and tokenization. So, so to understand why this topic, before we go deep dive, let's just take one step back and look at how decentralized networks actually work, and what is blockchain technology, and what are the role of nodes in the technology. Maybe we can start with André.
Yes,
Hi,
Sonny.
André. How are you today, André?
Very good. Delighted to be here with yourself, Sonny. We know each other since a long time via the XDC work, and delighted also to be joined by Anil and Omkar. Because indeed, I'm more on the business side of things. I'm a user of XDC. I'm a master node holder. And my role is to look at the applications of those new technologies for financial institutions and their counterparties. And there are many ways we can apply those advanced technologies like distributed networks or blockchains or DLT, whichever name we want to use. And I feel a bit like we going back in time, like 30 years ago, when the internet was introduced, and we were wondering whether it would be successful, would be useful. Some people were scared about it, like the press was scared about the internet because they thought they couldn't, it was a risk against their business of selling newspapers. And then they changed their mind quickly, realizing they could propagate news in a new way. And content, which is their core business, to create content. I'm talking about the press indeed. Then I was at Swift also looking at how the internet could be used at Swift. And even Swift was scared about it because they thought messaging could be done on the internet. And I'm telling this because now with blockchain, we have an upgrade of the internet, in my view, certainly with public blockchains. And we also have to ask ourselves the same questions. Will it make sense? I personally do think it does make sense. It is already having an impact in some parts of the industry, but most importantly is how to take advantage of it, in particular for financial institutions. And that's what we want to talk about it, as you said, Sonny, during this session. The key, just to keep it short now on your question, how does blockchain or how does blockchain work, or how those new technologies make a difference? It's all about the distributed nature of technology, we have been used to think in terms of platforms, centralized platforms, and I've spent enough time at Swift to see how centralization has great benefits in terms of technology, in terms of control, in terms of governance, but some functions are better implemented in a decentralized way. So those new technologies, distributed networks, distributed ledgers, are here indeed to enable a distributed way to share information and to store information, to publish information. So many use cases can be implemented. But the decentralized nature or distributed nature of this technology, I think, if we want to focus on one attribute of this technology, it's really all about that. And I will keep it to that because we'll expand on additional questions.
Perfect. I mean, that's setting the stone. That's setting the tone for the next topics that we're going to discuss, especially on the nodes. I think now Anil and Omkar would be the right person to probably give us a brief overview about what are nodes and how important they are for a network.
I mean, yeah, it's a great to start with, So nodes are actually the backbone of any blockchain network. So they actually validate and record every transactions, keeping the data consistent and the secure across the systems. So in short, the nodes make sure the network stays honest, functional, and always online without relying on any single point of control. So this is how the nodes are working in the XDC network ecosystem.
Right. So, so for financial institution, nodes are not just technical components; they are points of control, participation, and accountability, as you rightly said.
Right.
So now some nodes simply observe, and others actively secure and govern the network. Right. So let's just move on to staking and masternodes, for that matter. So why staking and masternodes are special from XDC, from a general point of view, and also at XDC network?
Okay, so when you stake or run a masternode, right? So you're not just holding the tokens; you are actually taking an active role in securing and the governing the network. So in return, you earn regular rewards and gain influence in the network decisions. It's also a great example of how decentralization allows users to participate directly in the system success.
Right. So anything you would like to add, Anil? Or yeah, Andre?
Yeah, maybe Anil first.
So yeah, definitely. I'll give you an example real quick, and it is simple. So if you hold any assets in your wallet, it never gonna earn, or it never gonna give you benefit out of it. So with XDC network, if you stake those amount in the network is completely audited, secure, safe. Now, how it works? Once you are part of the network, you are able to validate block. You are getting the exact record which are getting distributed among all the peers. So this makes add a value towards your staking amount. So I think this is truly decentralized. The vision of our founder, the vision of our leader are very clear that we have to have a transparent, decentralized blockchain ecosystem where anyone can join and contribute towards single goal. Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. Andre, would like to add something?
Yeah, indeed. So of course, running a network can cost a lot of money, and if tomorrow you want to deploy an application on any cloud provider, you have to pay this cloud provider for the service offered, or you have to buy your own server if you don't want to go for such a cloud provider. On the blockchain, the cost is actually borne by the node holders. So there is this notion of indeed running a decentralized network supported by nodes, but some nodes, the validators, will actually power the network, and they have a responsibility of uptime. We can go later into the details of that, and they are basically incurring costs themselves, because running a server to support a distributed network is costing electricity, is costing a server time, it's costing human time. And this is where basically the notion of paying those node holders is important, because those node holders will expect a certain reward for their work, for their role, and this is the whole space of staking and being rewarded for staking. We'll go in a few minutes more into the details, but basically we are replacing the cost of a centralized cloud server that is paid to a single provider, whichever can be. Of course, we know the big names, but there are many other providers at country level that can do the job. And we are replacing those costs that you pay usually via traditional ways into indeed the staking and rewarding, and all the concepts of gas fees will come back to.
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, low and predictable costs are critical for any financial institutions like bank, fintechs, enterprises operating at a scale. So let's just talk specifically about why XDC network was designed the way it is, right? So let's just go back to the basics and talk about XDC network and its target market. Maybe we'd like to start with Anil.
Yeah, sure, definitely. For that, I would definitely go back when we started our journey. So when we started our journey, Ethereum and Bitcoin was, at their peak. They were doing a lot of transaction, and when they were doing the transaction cost was around more than $10, $20, $50 sometime. So our founder have a vision that there is a system is already broken over there. We have to review the whole system for it should be that easy that if you are making a transaction, it should be near zero, and it should be fast. If you go to any cafe, if you scan a QR code, it should get immediately transferred to the owner of the cafe, right? So because of this vision of our founder, we are very sure, and we did 2 or 3 years of research, and then we started our journey as a XDC mainnet, where we have 2000 plus TPS. Transaction fee is almost near zero, and the block finality or block time is almost 2 seconds. So this makes you the end-to-end end user experience really smooth. So they even they don't have to explore blockchain, how it works. It's that smooth.
Yeah. So anything you'd like to add, Andre, to that in terms of markets?
So indeed, the founders have launched the XDC network years ago, focusing on global trade and global trade finance. So this is all about indeed tracking data, managing transactions, and managing also value across the network. So you could think those layer one networks like XDC network, Ethereum, Solana are in competition against each other. And that was my view a few years ago. But actually, as we progress, and on the back of my innovation of 30 years launching innovations in the market, developing a product is a small cost compared to the go-to-market. The go-to-market phase is the most expensive, whatever you want to do in financial services from a technology perspective. And more, certainly, but I'm focusing on technology. And actually, all those networks have a very specific target market, and which is why their use cases differ. Even if they're doing the same, their use cases differ. And over time, and in particular when stablecoins were started to be accepted and launched or regulated, so by our authorities, I saw more and more collaboration between networks. Or some networks becoming more stablecoin issuers than just layer one networks. So I saw more and more collaboration against networks, and that gave me the idea that actually the layer one networks, again, like XDC, Ethereum, and others, are actually comparable to websites on the internet. On the internet today, since 30 years, the mid-90s for me was the start of the internet. For most of us, the you have thousands, if not millions, of websites, and they all have a specific target market, a specific function. You click a link, and that link will go to one website and another website for tracking, for pricing, for advertising, whatever. Take Google Analytics, for instance. So lots of things are happening across websites with one single click. And actually, with distributed networks like XDC Network, the focus on trade and trade finance is very high for XDC when others are looking at other markets, which is why even if they are both layer one networks, they are not competing because they are not going after the same target market. So collaboration between layer one networks is what we see more and more happening. And this is definitely because indeed some layer one networks are working on completely different functions, and we can come back to some examples later.
Yeah, sure. I think you mentioned a very important use case with XDC network in trade financing. We're going to probably discuss more about the use cases as we go on, and also considering the time frame. Okay, we are moving on to the next phase where we discuss how XDC network is slightly different or takes a slightly different approach as compared to other public blockchains. Because XDC network combines the openness of a public blockchain with control institutions need, so with some sort of control and privacy, which means that brings me to the next topic is a hybrid network, right? We'd like to know first what is a hybrid network, and within XDC we have XDC subnets. We'd like to touch base on that as well before we move on to staking and discuss, have deep discussions on that particular offering. So maybe I would request either Omkar or Anil to, take us through what is a hybrid blockchain and what are subnets within XDC network.
Cool. I mean, it's a great question, right? So XDC is a public network, right? It's a main blockchain where anyone can build, transact, or participate, right? So it's open, transparent, and fully decentralized. Where the XDC subnet is like, on other hand, it's like a private or you can say a customized version of that network. So it lets enterprise or any institutes run their own blockchain with the specific rules and the privacy settings, or maybe a compliance need, but they still connected to the XDC main network for the security and for the interoperability, right? So this is how the we have called as the hybrid network, XDC hybrid network. So it works as for the public network as well and with the private network as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure in terms of privacy and security, the private offers those features as compared to public blockchains, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, definitely. XDC subnet, you can use it for specific region based. You can host it on specific regions so that the data would be restricted on the specific location itself. On other hand, XDC mainnet is completely decentralized. It has node on each and every region. So that helps for any institution or any maybe developers or a startup to push their transaction on subnet, making a transaction real fast and get the result real quick.
Yeah, so perfect. So we spoke about the usage of the infrastructure, in payment processing, in real world tokenization, in trade financing. But today you see more and more institutions, investors, financial institutions as well are interested to own a piece of that infrastructure as well. So that's where I would like to discuss about owning XDC, a piece of XDC through XDC Masternodes. So would like to maybe hear from either André or either of you. So why institutions should own XDC Masternodes?
Yeah, I can definitely start. Again, I like to explain this with some analogies. Financial institutions are owners of different market infrastructures. Take Euroclear, SWIFT. They are financial institutions own those, whether they are for profit or not for profit. And this is organized through shares that are being distributed, 100% this ownership. Now, the way to use a distributed, yes, someone is making some noise indeed.
Yeah.
The way to use a distributed network is actually even more explicit, because you can use a piece of the distributed infrastructure just by investing in the right amount of tokens that will enable you to own a validating masternode. And of course, Anil and Omkar will tell us more about how to achieve this. But basically, this is one way for a financial institution to operationally, technically, and also with a link to the governance we'll expand on, be part of the actual infrastructure. So it's again something that the financial institutions are very keen on, because for some of those shared infrastructures, they want to drive the agenda, they want to be part of the decision making, and they really regroup governance votes through countries. I've seen that at Swift for years. But here we are now in the 21st century, so we have new ways to organize this much more technically and operationally. And owning a masternode is actually similar in concept to owning shares in particular market infrastructures, and will get you indeed an important role, not only at technical level, but also at governance level.
Perfect. So ownership also comes with responsibility. I think that's why that's where governance comes in. Over to you, Omkar, Anil, how governance works, especially with XDC network.
Sure, definitely. So I think as Mr. André already cleared the air around how it benefits, I would like to add on the responsibility level. So whenever investor or person join XDC network, what they have to do, they have to self KYC, they have to upload the document, and then they propose the staking amount in the smart contract. Now those smart contract get locked. Now because of the locking period, because of that, you get the ownership that if there is any new proposal or any new improvement towards the network, you can vote, or in fact you can propose your own thoughts towards network. So let's say now we are seeing EIP 8004, which is actually for AI agent, is getting adopted on Ethereum network. Similarly, if anyone has new proposal, they can join a network, they can propose their thoughts, and any other validator would vote on that. And once you get sufficient vote, the changes would get integrated in the network. So this is how you are the owner of the network, not the developers, not the node operator, the owner who are staking the amount.
And obviously for the governance use, right? So we have a platform called XDC Dev that is again off-chain. It's not on-chain, but it's an off-chain governance where the anyone can put the proposal, and the community or the community members can vote the proposal. So we will be extensively using it for the governance purpose, and also we have we are developing XDC DAO, which is again on-chain governance platform, which will be alive very soon.
Okay, so it seems like there are a lot of benefits, for being a masternode owner of XDC network. So is it only applicable to enterprises or also individuals?
Yeah. So I would like to take this question. So when we develop or design the network, we make sure that it should be permissionless. What I mean by that, anyone, whether it's an enterprise, whether it's a business, whether it's a normal investor who has a 10 million XDC, they can easily come to network. They can complete the KYC and they can be part of the network. So it's not restricted to single party. It is globally, it's open network. It is truly decentralized, and this is how it is, right? Anyone can join the network while doing staking.
Yeah. So I think Andre mentioned before that he has been one of the, I think, early stage sort of owner of a node at XTC network. I would put it that way. Maybe Andre, you could maybe disclose more about that.
Yes, basically, I started this way by owning a node, and for me, it's all about discovering how the technology works and how a network, a community, can organize the technicalities and the governance in a fully collaborative way. So basically, the benefit of a distributed network and having multiple masternode validators is that you don't have a single point of failure. So resiliency is very important for those networks, and this is why we have indeed 108 validator nodes we call the masternodes, and then a few hundred standby nodes who will that will replace the validator nodes in case they stopped staking the amount of XDCs required. So the distributed nature is indeed all about avoiding a single point of failure, a single point of centralized governance, because indeed through today the off-chain governance through XDC Dev, as Omkar and Anil were saying, the governance is transparent but still off-chain, and over time it will change and become on-chain as well, so that the votes are related to the effective staking by masternode holders. I would insist on the fact that the technical requirements are very stringent. You don't run a masternode, switch it off, and then come back a few hours later. You have to have a very high-end availability of your server. Otherwise, your lack of continuity, technical availability will be spotted by the network, and that will influence also your reputation, technical reputation on the network. So it's amazing how best practices we have seen in the human space is now getting translated in the technical space, because any bad behavior, such as discontinuation of a masternode for whatever reason, intended or not intended, will be spotted by the network. And Omkar and Anil are there indeed to tell us more about this if needed.
Yeah, I mean, with so much benefits of owning a masternode, I would like to know how can someone, be an individual investor or an institution, how can they, apply for this, for becoming a masternode owner? And what are the benefits, other than, because obviously I heard that there is a cost to be a masternode owner. So what are the benefits, other financial benefits of becoming a masternode owner? So
who do you want?
I mean, anyone. I think Anil mentioned we require 10 million XDC, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's just go with that.
Yeah, cool. So perfect. So when we started our journey, we make sure that it should be easy for anyone to understand. Okay, and because of that, let's say if you want to become a master owner in XDC network, what you have you have to spend your 1 minute. Once you have 10 million XDC on your wallet, what you can do is you can buy the server. You will get the Coinbase address, and we have an application called Masternode app. Okay, you have to log in either with Wallet Connect, MetaMask, Ledger, Treasure. We always recommend to have a hardware wallet because XDC is already supported with Ledger, Treasure, Decent wallet. Yeah. Once you do that, you will get the option that you can you have to upload a KYC. Once you click on upload button, the document will get stored in private IPFS data. You will get the IPFS hash. It might be a little bit techy, but it is very easy when you actually doing it. So from user perspective, it's just uploading of document. Then next, your 10 million XDC will get locked in the smart contract. It is completely audited smart contract, and that's it. Your fund is locked. You are part of the network. You are the owner of the network, and from that point of view, once you started, if you're a masternode owner, you will get the rewards from next epoch, which is actually 900 block. That you will get every 900 block, you will get the rewards, and if you are standby node, you will get the rewards first week of each month. So this is how we made it very simple, easy, and there are a lot of articles that we have published, whether it's on Medium, XDC.dev, which help anyone to become a masternode quite easy without putting more than a minute.
Wow,
And on the other
that's
side, if you, I'm sorry. So on the
no,
other
go ahead.
side, yeah, if you think on this way, like most of the people just hold their XDC and just watching it sit there, right? But with a masternode, you are actually putting those tokens to work. So earning and rewards, just like Anil mentioned, right? For the masternode owners, you will be getting a 10% annual rewards. For the standby owners, you will be also getting a 8% rewards. And there are many more. Like we have a lined up. We are coming up with the observer node soon, right? For those who actually wanted to stake their XDC with the network.
Wow, that's quite appealing and numbers. So 10% for master node and 8% for standby node. So can I receive them like only annually, or can I receive them quarterly, monthly? Is there any way? I mean, distribution model for those rewards?
I will let Anil to answer your question.
So that's honestly, that's the beauty of the network. You don't have to wait for a month. Okay, every half an hour, which is 900 block, your rewards will get credited to your account. So now those added rewards you can either transfer to anyone, sell it, store it. It's on you. It's not locked at all. It's your hard-earned rewards that you got because you're validating the network. You're making the network truly decentralized. So I think making a small change, creating a big changes towards the ecosystem. So yeah, that's the beauty.
Perfect. I think I'm conscious of the time as well. I think we have covered mostly the gist of XTC master nodes here. Any closing remarks from Andre, Anil, and Omkar would be good for the viewers and the listeners.
No, I can confirm it definitely works because I've been running a standby for a number of years, and more recently it was upgraded to a masternode. So it's fascinating the level of granularity, visibility you get, because everything is tracked on chain, on public chain. So you can have a look at indeed the list of masternodes and the ones that are joining, leaving. I mean, you can also deactivate your masternode if you believe you want to use the tokens for another purpose. Everything is achievable on that side. The real goal for financial institutions is really about owning a piece of the networks, and it can be a DACC network and the other network. But this principle of staking a certain amount of tokens, getting rewards, is what we call token economics, and it's being applied more and more for multiple use cases. And as I said, there are multiple layer one networks that are going after very specific markets, functions, use cases. It's not always about trade and trade finance. It can be anything else. But for us on the XDC network, the goal is really to promote liquidity in the trade space through a partnership with Circle USDC. So the bet on the growth of the stablecoin is very high for XDC network. And talking to lots of financial institutions, including the top ones and smaller originators in trade, I can tell you that availability of liquidity is always of interest, even if you're a top 10 financial institutions. Yesterday, I had a great discussion with one of the top 5 banks in the trade distribution space, which is a very specific space. and where we spotted the value of stablecoins in the bank-to-bank space. And it's all about cutoff times and hurdles, frictions that banks got used to because the way bank opening hours have been organized since decades, if not centuries. So we are betting on the stablecoins market. We have a great partnership at XDC with Circle. This is addressing a lot of different players in the trade and trade finance space: corporates, SMEs, banks, non-bank lenders, asset managers. So we believe we're on the right track to grow. And the key question is, how will financial institutions position themselves in order to own a piece of the infrastructure? And one of the practical ways is just to own a masternode and participate to the development of the network. Because going forward, lots of strategic questions will be handled by the XDC governance: which additional stablecoins to plug onto the network, support natively onto the network, which additional functions will we ask Omkar, Anil, and the engineers behind them to implement. So again, I've seen that work being done at Swift in the 20th century and also a bit in the 21st century. At the beginning of it, until 2015, there are continuous important discussions on product roadmaps, strategic partnerships, and this is where the investment in a masternode, which is peanuts, I would think, from a money perspective, from a financial perspective for financial institutions at this stage. So it's not a risky investment, but it's getting a foot in the in one of the networks. There will be others, no doubt. One of the networks supporting trade and trade finance. That's how I would put it from a business perspective.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andre, for those remarks. I mean, if you are a investor, financial institutions, I think you have all the reason to be thinking about XDC and owning a piece of XDC infrastructure, and for all the benefits that Andre and both Omkar and Anil have just explained. So any closing remarks again would I like to know from you, Omkar and Anil, before we wrap up?
I mean, I can see that there are a lot of questions coming in the chat box, So
Yeah.
I will ask everyone to, come and join our xdc.dev channels to get to know more about the masternode hosting or any technical questions from the developer's perspective, from the enterprise level perspective. You can post it there on the xdc.dev. We are happy to answer it.
Yeah, there are nearly 50. I just saw
Yeah.
nearly 50 comments. Okay. So I just posted that xtc.dev.
Yeah.
All right. Anything from you, Anil?
Yeah, definitely. As Omkar mentioned, on XDC.dev, we have 3,000 plus developers who can actively, answer this question, and it will get documented. We truly created a decentralized network. It is up and running since 2019, and things are getting very stable. Adoption is getting on multiple ecosystem, right? This
Yeah.
is the best time that you should join us in our truly decentralized vision, and you can contribute. You can propose your thoughts on the such a way that it will get adapted on the network. So we are working with great, and we would love you to join our network and contribute together for the same vision, truly decentralized.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody would like to set up a masternode, please, here's the link, zenfin.org/setup.masternode, or you can email me. I'll put my email address here. Anybody who is interested to be a part of XTC network and the infrastructure and own a piece of infrastructure with all the real benefits, that we have, please drop me an email as well. And thank you so much, Andre, Omkar, and Anil. And thank you for all the viewers and all the people who are, here supporting us. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
So we
Thank
can
you so
end.
much.
Thank you, Sonny.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.